I'd like to start our discussion with a story. Let's build up the setting for the rest of the discussion. I'll be starting out with a summary first and foremost, for anyone not familiar with the story or who'd just like a brief refresher. Link wakes up from the Shrine of Resurrection after having seemingly slept for 100 years, unsure what it is he needs to do. He gets a new iPad, and meets up with a hang-gliding old man who agrees to give Link the sick-ass hang glider if he goes around collecting the 4 spirit orbs from the shrines in the Great Plateau. Link then goes around updating his iOS about as frequently as in real life, getting the spirit orbs from the monks in the shrines absorbed into his body and probably getting lung cancer before Thanos snapping the monks away.
I don't feel so good.
After then meeting the old man in the Temple of Time, he reveals himself to be the ghost of Christmas past, Hyrule's king, whose kingdom fell to Ganon's forces long ago. 100 years ago, they predicted the return of Ganon, because he's that asshole who always has a bone to pick. The people of Hyrule uncovered ancient weapons they decided would be worthwhile to reactivate and use as weapons against Ganon, as they were seemingly used as such in the past. The main discovery were the robots from the Incredibles, and the 4 divine beasts. Each beast was assigned a champion, each representing a different race from Hyrule. Ganon, however, Grand Theft Auto'd all the weapons meant to be used against him, killed the champions, and nearly killed Link. Link was brought to the Shrine of Resurrection, while Zelda held back Ganon's full power for the past 100 years while Link slept. After hearing this story, Link is tasked with defeating Ganon, saving Zelda, and restoring the land of Hyrule, and is advised to wrest control of the Divine Beasts away from Ganon to use against him. While advised to go to Kakariko Village, this is where the world truly opens up, and the player can really do whatever it is they want, such as in my case, launch into the castle at the speed of sound to immediately kill Ganon after being awake for nearly 24 hours straight and only having 3 days of practice to learn how to speedrun the game to fundraise for the Stollery Children's Hospital. Alright, maybe that's not an intended option by the developers, but point is, this is where the world opens. It is now your playground. If the player chooses to follow the story quests, they can unlock flashback memories to uncover the full story of the past, which includes Zelda desperately trying to unlock her power to defeat Ganon, but continuously being unable to do so, and being chastised and judged by those around her, except for Link. If the player frees the Divine Beasts from Ganon's control, Link frees the spirits of the champions, who resume their command on the beasts. After however much preparation and exploring time the player has taken, Link finally confronts Ganon, who escapes Zelda's control right as Link shows up, because how else would he have a final boss, really? Link defeats Ganon with a Bow of Light and saves Hyrule. That's the simple version of the plot summarized. There are some things I like throughout the story, but also several problems I have. One of the biggest problems is definitely about taking control of the Divine Beasts back. 100 years ago, Ganon sent out monsters that killed the champions and took over the Divine Beasts. Link restores control to the spirits of their original owners, sure, but why does that matter? What I mean is, why doesn't Ganon just take it over again? He did it once before, and while there were actual champions guarding it, some of the toughest of each of their races, and now there's literally nothing but a spooky ghost keeping each Divine Beast safe. Even if he can't send another Blight level of monster, if he got some random bokoblin to just stroll into the Divine Beast, what's a spooky ghost gonna do about it? He took all 4 Divine Beasts easily before. Why doesn't he just do it again, instead of letting himself get shot by 4 mega lasers like a complete idiot? But what if Ganon was just occupied with Zelda so he couldn't send anyone? The beasts were filled with monsters controlling it before Link showed up to them, so you'd think the guardians or monsters would be smart enough to just waltz up and take it again as it sits on whatever cliff it's on with a laser points at their master for probably months. Or what about during a blood moon when the monsters just spawn everywhere anyway? What are the champion spirits really gonna do about it? Just ask the monsters politely to leave? One thing I'm bummed about, but also kind of understand why it was done, is the absence of a Ganondorf. It would have been really neat to have had a figure as the antagonist actually speak to Link, share his thoughts about being held prisoner for the past 100 years by a princess who keeps being 17 for the past 100 years like Ash is just 10 forever. This used to be one of my bigger complaints, but after my game design classes at university, I think I feel a better appreciation for the choice to not do that. By not allowing Ganon to speak, to not take a human form, the game quite literally dehumanizes him. it strips him down to his pure malice and purpose in the plot as a purely evil creature. Through the dehumanization of Ganon, Breath of the Wild makes the argument that he is beyond redemption, that there is no reasoning with him, that he is simply a creature hell-bent on destruction. So while a Ganondorf would have been neat, on reflection it may have actually been better as it was. There's a few tidbits with the plot I definitely did enjoy, such as the fact that this game actually gave reasoning for Link being a silent protagonist, as revealed by some of Zelda's journal entries. Silent protagonists have become such a standard in the world of video games, so I find it fascinating when games like Fire Emblem Three Houses or Breath of the Wild actually give reasons for the silence, typically something important to the backstory of the protagonist. I also quite liked how the Spirit of the Sword from Skyward Sword does actually speak to Zelda for how to save Link's life, as a reminder that she's always with you through each of these adventures with the sword. For one criticism though, look, I know it's an easy target, but I have to mention it. How am I supposed to take characters seriously when 17-year-old Zelda is wearing pants probably tight enough to cut off blood flow?